Hi, my name is Sydney Jones, and this is my presentation for the for advanced literacy for primary grades over reading comprehension. Okay, so we were asked to identify the three levels of um, literacy learning or vocab learning. So the first step is the association processing. This is what you teach the students first, and how you teach the students so that they're able to represent actually what the words are. I gave two different examples here. So as you are going through, one element should be taught at a time. Meaning, so for the lower level grades, you've got A, B, C, D, and you associate, like you see over here, you associate the A is for apple, or A is for ant, or A is for airplane and alligator. But over here, you see for the higher achieve or for the higher levels, um, instead of having them just read the word and not really associating it with pictures, for those students that don't necessarily know how to do that, you have the pictures that are associated with those words. For instance, you have screw and then a picture of a screw, or screwdriver and a picture of a screwdriver, and so on and so forth. Those are flashcards, or not really flashcards, but like cards that you hand to the students as they are learning. And then they're able to see, oh, well, this word is associated with this picture and this is what it means. So the next level would be comprehension processing. So instead of just you've already done the levels of where you have the A is for apple, or this word screwdriver. So this is going to be using antonyms. Okay, so you're going to be taking and classifying with other words together. So if you look over here with the younger students, you're able to fit in these words. So they would use a fill in the blank. So for one, you would choose from that category and then fill it in there so that you're able to associate that word with the sentences. So I use transition words. That might not necessarily be exactly what we're looking for, but it's just an example. So over here, if you see through the K through 5 learning and the antonyms, these would be for students that are in the 1 to 2 or the 3 to 4, depending on what kind of words you're using. But for instance, you see where you need to find the antonym to dry, and you would choose misty, and the students would then be able to write misty is the antonym of dry. So generation processing is the final step in that. The students then use the comprehended association to generate new or novel products. Okay, so this would be when the students are, and I kind of told you or said it down here, but it is when a student is able to rewrite or reconstruct that definition by placing that word and then by redefining using their own words. So word maps are great graphic organizers for students in order to figure out the levels of thinking. So there are three questions that need to be addressed in a word map. It's what is it? So for instance, I chose the word feline here. What is a feline? Well, what is it like? And you say cats, and then what are some examples? Cougars and lions. And you can use word maps to associate those higher level words that the students aren't really grasping, and to kind of define it using those word maps. The Frayer model is a great model to help the students be able to learn the word. For instance, we're learning the word reptile in this example, and you can see the definition over here. And I chose like for younger students, a definition that is cold-blooded, vertebrates with dry, scaly skin that is and that usually lays eggs. So then the students are thinking, they're thinking, oh, well, laying eggs. So what might lay eggs? Well, they're looking at the examples of turtles or chameleons and lizards, but you also see that a lot of associations with, or children often associate reptiles with frogs, toads, and salamanders. So you have non-examples over here on this other part of this model. And you also need to make sure so that the students have the definition, the examples, the characteristics, and the non-examples. So the QAR is it's question answer relationships. So question answer relationships can be used for both the teacher and the student. For the students, it allows them to be able to make connections between they're asking questions like, well, what is the author intending? What are they doing? Why is the author asking this? So that they can really understand the relationship between the question and what they're what they're trying to answer. That way they have a better understanding before they go to make those answers, before they try to give their answer. For teachers, the QAR is a really helpful tool in order to assess using Bloom's taxonomy whether or not they are using those low level question and answerings, or if they're really tapping into the upper levels and trying to figure out where they're really going with the students and seeing where they're engaging their students on what level. For instance, I would ask myself, so last week I taught my students the beginning of multiplication. So, or not the beginning, but we're going back over multiplication. Just, throughout the year, we'll hit it back up and see where we're going. Am I asking myself, why are the students not understanding, or what can I do better? And what is the reason for this, and why should they know this? And it's the same thing that the students should be asking each other or asking themselves. So extra help, those students that are really requiring extra help and RTI resources. So for instance, I chose the using dialogue instructions and text features to help students supplement understanding of text materials. So that is going to be like okay, so to help supplement understanding text of materials, that is going to be I tie in a video, or I tie in the use of technology that's really going to help that instruction and really support it. That way it gets to the backbone of what the students are kind of missing. So dialogue instructions, meaning I'm reading to them and I'm telling them how to do it. I'm asking them questions along the way, and I'm really getting them engaged in that lesson. So use their strengths to overcome their weaknesses. So a lot of students that are struggling with reading are going to have strengths in certain areas, but then are really lacking in other areas. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you are not focusing specifically on their weaknesses, because that will help. That will really bring a student down if they're like, well, man, I'm terrible at this and I don't want to continue going to this class, and that's why I'm in here. The students really pick up on that more than I think we as teachers understand, because being in a situation as a student that just didn't understand certain things, it's kind of hard to, as the teacher, see where they're coming from unless you are really trying to play into their strengths to be able to overcome the weakness that you are trying to get. This, you really need to engage with your students. You need to make sure that you have the attention of your students and you're really connecting with them at a certain level that is showing interest in what they're interested in, and then they're able to make those connections because they're willing to learn for you as the teacher. Provide increased teacher modeling and scaffolding. So for me, what I like to do is I want to make sure that I am modeling for my students exactly what I want them to do before I hand them any sort of work that they're going to be doing. So whether or not that's working through one or two um, extra questions with them, or making sure that I am re-teaching the lesson before I give them the materials. Just really making sure that they understand what they're supposed to be doing before they are released onto their own. Um, and just making sure that you are really hitting those points to where they get before you just kind of let them go off on their own. Um, all right, and I think that is the last slide. All right, thank you.